We're back here at the Quad City International Airport Art Gallery with Chris Rayburn, who helped put this together, this exhibit, as part of a, how long is the exhibit running?
It runs for 2 months.
2 months.
It'll be up through the end of June.
And it's in collaboration with the Putnam Museum, as well as the Quad City Airshow.
It is.
Yep.
It is.
And so this is U.S. Army airship infield from the 1920s.
Yeah, and we really don't know a lot of facts about this. It's one of those pictures that was in the photo albums, and so I wanted to show not everything associated with the Zeppelin. I mean, there were other airships at the time, and then these other three are the Zeppelin, which did the Graf Zeppelin,
Yes.
which did visit our area, and that's a picture of Arsenal Island taken from a biplane at the same time that the biplane was taking a picture of the Zeppelin over Moline or Rock Island.
And it just celebrated its 90th? No, 90th anniversary. This Graf Zeppelin this year.
Oh, really?
I believe. Yeah, because it was 1920, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these pictures are. I'm not sure what year it came here, but German American Heritage Center has a lot of stuff on it.
They do. Yeah.
And then these are pictures that are more sort of having to do with early commercial uses for aviation. So again, that's actually Pat Miller driving a motorcycle. With a friend of his goofing around in front of the Curtis
Always doing
aircraft.
Daredevil stuff. Yeah.
And then down below is a picture of some of the first passenger service, and it's actually taken in Monmouth, Illinois. And even though the photographer was there, when you zoom in on the picture, there's a marching band in the background that has a drum, and the drum is from the Monmouth High School.
Look at that. The detail is amazing when you think about it.
I think a lot of these pictures were probably contact printed from, bigger negatives.
Okay.
So by the time I had the picture, it was almost like a negative, even though it was faded and cracked.
Because it had been printed so small that there was a tight resolution that you could blow up.
I think so. That really helped a lot. That really helped me a lot. And not all of them have as much detail.
Yeah.
Some are better than others.
Yeah.
So, and then these are pictures of all three pictures of early airmail service. Different versions of different planes that all talk about airmail. And then this is another before and after, and this comes right out of his scrapbook, where the picture on the top he has written in pen on the margin of the picture on the back. It says, D. Sherwood, pilot of this plane, and then the next picture in the book says 5 minutes later.
Oh my. I wonder if there was any injuries there.
I don't know. I mean, certainly there were plenty of pictures in the book where there's a picture of people, and he would say, this guy died in a crash here, or this guy died in a crash there.
Wow.
But kind of out of respect, I didn't want to put that stuff in.
That's fair.
So, and then this last case is more pictures that have to do with the Moline Airport, and some of the people that are just more like everyday people that came through here.
Yeah.
And so the top picture is a picture of just another Sunday crowd at the air show. And this case is also really interesting because just since we've hung the show, as we were hanging it, two people came out independently. One wonderful gentleman came out, and he grew up on the hill. In this picture is there's a barn that you can see back in the trees. A little white house was his barn, and his farmhouse was in the middle of those trees. And he told stories about, as a young boy, how he would come down and cross the road and go to the airport and hang out in the hangars and try and bum rides from the guys in their planes. And
he just walked up and
he just
started talking
about
about
it. To come and see it.
That's
how
amazing.
Wonderful.
I love this photo, by the way.
Isn't that cool?
I like it because it's you can see it way back in the distance on the horizon. You can actually see the Rock River way in the back, and it's beautiful. It's like a landscape picture with urban landscape on this. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and when you drill into it, you can see people sitting on the roof of the car watching the planes.
Oh, wow.
And people walking in the street holding hands, and it's really
it's a special photo.
It's amazing. Yeah. That's one of the early air hangars here from Campbell Airplane Company. This was apparently a landmark. It was like a little snack shack called the Cross Country Inn.
Usings still,
still around. Still family business.
Wow.
This is a blow up of Gabe Mosenfelder, who's one of the men who is later on is in the show, and that's just him flying his plane, being happy.
Now, did you crop this yourself, or was that was the way it was taken?
It was similar to that, but I would crop it to make it fit, and
Sure.
It's kind of, when you blow something up like that, you want it to have the right amount of blurry and the right amount of grain, and so you kind of actually have to. A lot more work goes into it than you can kind of really.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you do it right, it doesn't look like you did anything at at all.
It's a very arresting photo.
It's kind of haunting.
Yeah, but he looks like he's having fun.
Yeah, it makes you can't not smile when you look at that picture.
It's almost like a Mona Lisa. You're not quite sure what the smile's for, you know?
It's a sly smile.
Yeah.
And then these are just other people. This is the Veely racing team.
Okay.
From 1929, the monocoupe racing team, and a lot of those names are names that are sort of well known, I guess, in the Quad Cities for aviation. But the woman in the picture, the second lady, the second person from the left, that's Phoebe Amelie, and she shows up back over here.
Okay.
She was she flew this plane, which is a Veely monocoupe, which was called the Miss Moline, and she broke an altitude record over the Moline Airport in the 20s. And she was so very, 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 very well-known aviator on her own right, and then especially as a pioneer woman aviator. And the pictures up above are her as a younger woman. And at the very top, that was before she was married. Her name was Phoebe Fairbanks. And then same thing down below, and she's holding a trophy for winning a race. But in the beginning, she was a real daredevil. She would fly biplanes in flying circuses and jump out in a parachute.
Really?
Yeah.
And this is in the 20s.
This is in the 20s, from what I can tell.
Goodness.
And then this is here later, and then this is here as a flapper after she gets sort of recognized.
Wow.
And then these are just sort of more candid pictures of the airport. There's the lower right is John Deere's corporate plane. And if you see the guy who's wearing the hat, there's two guys, but the third guy from the left is Rusty Campbell.
Okay.
And if you
We
actually
saw Campbell earlier over
he
there.
was earlier in other pictures, and then in those first case, the street photographs, he shows up. He's also, then you see him show up here in the St. Louis Rob picture. He's the guy standing next to the priest.
Okay.
So it's sort, you kind of like get to know these characters as you go through the book, even though you don't really know who they are.
Well, I'm struck by the vividness of the detail in these, and that they're. I mean, just back to this one. I mean, real quick. I mean, this is just an amazing photo,
Isn't it?
I mean, they are just obviously one of a kind people in that era, 1929.
Well,
the
what would-
monocoupe racing team. It says.
What would drive you to race planes and try to fly planes? I mean, you had to be somebody who was really looking for, excitement. But I get that all the time.
You were not risk averse.
Not risk averse. We don't know who this woman is, but it just seemed like a beautiful picture.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably one of the, the more recent pictures that we have in the show, but I'm pretty sure it's probably from the 30s, but I don't know.
When I first saw it, I thought it was Amelia Earhart, but it's unidentified.
We don't know who it is.
But
Somebody does.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll tell us.
They might.
And then these last pictures are of the top picture is Gabe Mosenfelder himself, and both of these guys were, I think, flew at one point for the Curtiss or Curtiss Wright Flying Service. So that's Gabe Mosenfelder, who learned how to fly from down below. That's Pat Miller.
There's Pat Miller.
Yeah, who's later on in life.
And out of the books that you used, there was 4 books, 4 photographic books.
Yeah, there were 4 books, but only 2 pictures came from the Red Book.
Okay.
Really, probably 95% of the show came from either Pat Miller's book or Gabe Mosenfelder's book.
Okay.
And the airport is so lucky that their families donated those to them.
Yeah.
For history.
Absolutely.
And then I don't know. Then we have a case here of photographs from the old terminal when it was the new terminal. So this is when the airport first opened in 1954.